The sky turned dark not from clouds, but from ships. Massive alien carriers blocked out the twin suns above the plains of Varian 6. Cities stopped breathing. Alarms screamed across the human colony. What was supposed to be a peaceful research outpost had become a battlefield overnight. Sergeant Ray Carter stood on the front line, gripping his rifle tightly. His eyes scanned the horizon, where glowing blue orbs floated low above the sand. They weren't drones. They were living things, Zalari scouts. The humans had studied them before, peaceful, curious, but now they were preparing for war. Ray didn't understand why the Zalari attacked. No warning, no message, no negotiation. Just fire. And then they came. Dozens of Zalari warriors walked forward, tall and glowing in the shadows of their ships. Their skin shimmered with bioluminescent stripes, some green, others deep purple. But Ray noticed one figure among them who didn't belong in the front lines, smaller, more delicate. A girl? She was unlike the others, her face softer, her armor incomplete. Her long silver hair waved in the wind, and a strange bracelet on her wrist blinked red. Ray raised his weapon, but didn't fire. "Hold your fire," he shouted to the nearby squad. The alien girl looked straight at him. The battlefield stood frozen. Then the girl took a step forward and collapsed. Ray's boots pounded the dirt as he rushed toward her. The other Zalari didn't move, almost like they were in shock too. Ray dropped to his knees beside the alien girl. She was breathing. Barely. Her eyes opened slowly and met his. And then her bracelet blinked green. Bright green, the color of activation, of bond. The girl's mouth parted in disbelief. Her breath caught in her throat. The device on her wrist beeped again, louder, stronger. Ray looked confused, but didn't move. Then, a strange symbol appeared on the device's surface, a symbol Ray had seen once before in Zalari research logs. It was the soulmate symbol. The crowd of alien warriors gasped in unison, their glowing bodies flickering in confusion. The girl raised her hand and lightly touched Ray's chest. The moment her fingers brushed his armor, her bracelet glowed blindingly bright. The battlefield lit up. Ray jumped slightly but didn't pull away. The alien girl stared at him with wide violet eyes. Her lips trembled. She didn't speak, but her expression said everything. Shock, confusion, recognition. And something deeper. Fear. Ray gently placed his hand on her shoulder to steady her. The moment he did, she flinched, then froze. And the bracelet made a soft chime, like a final confirmation. The alien warriors dropped to their knees in silence. The war. Paused. 12 hours earlier. In the research dome of Varian 6, Ray Carter, REVIEWED, reports of strange Zalari behavior. Several patrols had gone missing. Communications were intercepted. The peace treaty had held for years. But something was off. Dr. Alina, the colony's alien specialist, leaned over his desk. "There's something I didn't tell Command," she whispered. "The Zalari use bio-devices to find soul partners. Their kind believes each person has only one match in the universe." Ray frowned. "Like a soulmate detector?" "Exactly. And one of the Zalari princesses is rumored to be wearing the last functioning one. Why didn't we know this sooner?" Ray asked. "Because she wasn't supposed to leave the royal nest. Back to present." The alien girl lay still but awake in the human base's medroom. Ray sat nearby, confused, watching her bracelet blink green again and again. Dr. Alina entered. Her eyes went wide. "That's the princess," she whispered. "Her name is Nixari. She wasn't supposed to be here. That device she's wearing, it means she found her soulmate." Ray blinked. "Wait, you mean?" Yes, Alina said slowly. "You touched her, and now the device chose you." "But she's an alien," Ray said. "She's royalty," Alina corrected. And she didn't choose you? The device did. According to Zillary law, she belongs to her soulmate now. She has no say. It's irreversible. Ray looked at the alien girl again. Nixari was awake now. She stared at him silently, then pointed at her own chest, then at him. Then at her bracelet. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She wasn't just shocked, she was terrified. Asterisk. Nixari sat silently on the edge of the hospital bed. Thick energy cuffs locked her hands together. A gentle blue light pulsed around them. A human-made precaution to stop her from using any hidden alien tech. She hadn't moved since Ray helped her inside. She hadn't spoken, either. Her violet eyes stayed on him, filled with confusion and fear. The green blinking on her soulmate band still hadn't stopped. Ray stood near the door, arms crossed. His face was calm, but his heart wasn't. He was trained to fight aliens, not bond with one. Dr. Alina walked into the room again, holding a data pad. She sighed. She still won't talk? Alina asked quietly. No, Ray replied. She watches everything I do, but not a single word. That's normal for the Zillari, Alina explained. They don't speak unless trust is earned, especially royals, especially if they're bonded. Ray looked back at Nixari. And this? Bonding? It's real? Yes, the band on her wrist is ancient. It chooses a soulmate based on deep DNA matches, bioenergy, and fate. Once it activates, there's no undoing it. But she didn't choose me, Ray said. This wasn't love, it was an accident. Alina nodded. Doesn't matter. To them, you are now her chosen. Outside the base, chaos stirred. Human. Commanders debated what to do next. The war had paused, but only because the Zillari royal heir had fallen into enemy hands. If she was hurt or killed, the Zillari Empire would return with full force. Inside the medical dome, Ray noticed something strange. Nixari was touching her bracelet gently with her fingertips. Her breathing was faster than before. She looked down at her bound hands, then slowly up at Ray. She pointed at the cuffs. Ray hesitated. You want these off? She nodded once. I don't know if that's safe, he said, but she didn't stop looking at him. Finally, Ray walked over to her. She didn't flinch. That gave him courage. He placed his hand gently on the cuffs, and after a pause, he pressed the unlock code. The energy field vanished. Her hands dropped to her lap. No sudden moves. No attack. She just sat there, breathing easier now. Ray sat down across from her. Why did you come to the battlefield? He asked softly. Nixari looked confused. She tapped her chest, then made a gesture like flying. Then she pointed at the sky. Ray thought hard. You flew down? Were you trying to stop the war? She didn't answer, but her bracelet beeped softly. He tried another question. Did you know I was your soulmate before you touched me? She paused, then shook her head slowly. So it was fate. She hadn't meant for this to happen either. A loud alarm rang through the base. Red lights flashed. Ray jumped to his feet. Alina rushed back into the room. Zillari battleships are descending. 10 of them. They're demanding the return of the princess. Now. Ray turned to Nixari. Do you want to go back? He asked. Nixari shook her head firmly this time. But they're your people, Ray said. She tapped her bracelet, then touched his chest again. Alina gasped. She's choosing to stay with you, even over her own empire. Ray's heart pounded. But why? This isn't love. It's not about love, Alina replied. It's about trust and fate. To her, returning now means she breaks the bond. That would shame her family and curse her lineage. Curse? Yes, the Zillari believe breaking a soulmate bond causes death in future generations. Some say even madness. Meanwhile, in Orbit above the planet, the Zilari Queen's warship prepared for an invasion. But when the Queen saw her daughter's activated soulmate device on a live data feed, she froze. The device had chosen, and the chosen one was human. The Queen's advisors panicked. Shall we destroy the colony and recover the princess? But the Queen raised a hand. No. But Your Majesty, she has bonded. We cannot. Reverse the bond without destroying her soul. Send a message. I will speak to the human myself. Back on the ground, a single alien shuttle landed outside the human base. No weapons. Just an escort. Ray stood at the gate, armed and alert. Nixari walked beside him, her bracelet glowing brighter than ever. The shuttle doors opened, and the Zilari Queen stepped out. Tall, radiant, covered in royal light armor and flowing robes. Her presence demanded respect. She looked straight at her daughter, then at Ray. Her expression unreadable. Nixari took one step forward. She held her wrist up to show the Queen the glowing green mark. The Queen blinked, and then slowly bowed her head. It was a sign of acceptance. Ray was stunned. What just happened? Alina smiled from behind. You were just accepted into Zilari royalty. Asterisk. The human soldiers stared as the alien Queen entered the command chamber. Her eyes glowed with soft violet light, and every step she took made the air feel heavy. No one dared speak. Ray stood beside Nixari, still unsure what to say or do. He was a soldier, not a diplomat, not a prince. The Queen stopped in front of him and studied his face. Then she looked at Nixari's glowing soulmate band. So, she said, her voice calm and smooth, it has chosen. Ray nodded slowly. Yes, Your Majesty. But I didn't. I know, the Queen interrupted. Neither of you chose. The bond did. There was silence for a moment. Then she surprised everyone. I want to speak with the human alone, the Queen said. Nixari looked up in panic, but the Queen gently touched her daughter's arm. It's all right. After a short pause, Ray followed the Queen into a private meeting room. 2 alien guards closed the door behind them. The Queen walked slowly around the room, her hands behind her back. I've lived for 200 years, she began. I have led armies, won peace, crushed rebellions. But never has one of my children bonded with an off-worlder. Ray stood still, unsure whether to feel honored or worried. She turned to him. You look nervous. I am. Good. That means you're not a fool. Ray frowned. If I may ask, what do you want from me? The Queen stepped closer, her eyes now locked onto his. I want peace, a real one. Not the cold silence we've shared these past years. A true bond between our kinds. This soulmate bond may be fate, but it can also be a tool. Ray didn't like where this was going. So, you want to use Nixari and me as political symbols? No, she said. I want you both to lead a new alliance. Ray took a step back. Lead an alliance? I'm just a soldier. But the bond chose you, the Queen replied. You carry our future now, whether you accept it or not. Ray looked down at his hands. They were rough, scarred from years of battle. Not royal hands. Not leadership hands. I'm not the right person for this, he said quietly. You are the only person, she said firmly. The bond cannot be broken. If you refuse this role, Nixari will be dishonored. If she is dishonored, I must recall her. And if I recall her, the bond will break and war will return. Ray looked up sharply. You're saying, if I say no, the peace ends? Yes, she said simply, but if you say yes, we build something new. Outside the chamber, Nixari paced back and forth. Alina sat nearby, watching her. She's nervous, Alina whispered. She has never been apart from her mother this long, one alien guard replied. Even on the battlefield. They are connected. What is the Queen planning? Alina asked. We don't know, the guard said. But if she's speaking to the human alone, it's serious. Back in the room, Ray finally broke the silence. I'll do it, he said. But not because I want power. I'll do it because I want to protect Nixari, and because maybe this is our only chance. The Queen gave him a slow, approving nod. You have courage, she said. That is rare among your kind. Then she placed something small in his hand, a crystal token with a glowing emblem. This is a royal seal, she said. Use it to summon us if you are ever in danger. Ray looked down at the strange object, feeling the weight of what he had just agreed to. Moments later, the door opened again. Nixari rushed inside, her eyes scanning Ray's face. He smiled weakly. We're not at war anymore. She tilted her head. Confused, Ray stepped closer and touched her bracelet gently. Your mother, she wants us to work together, to show both our people that peace is real. Nixari stared at him for a moment. Then, for the first time since they met, she nodded with understanding. She reached out and touched his shoulder, a sign of trust. The Queen left soon after, but not before making a statement in front of both humans and Zilari. The human has been accepted by the bond. He is now one with our royal line. Any harm to him is harm to us. The words sent shockwaves across both sides of the war. Ray Carter, a simple soldier, was now bonded to an alien princess, and possibly heir to something greater. But not everyone was happy. In the shadows of the Zilari fleet, a cold pair of yellow eyes watched the Queen's shuttle leave orbit. A whisper echoed in the darkness. She chose a human? This ... will not stand. A rogue general, exiled long ago, tightened his grip on his weapon. If the Queen won't protect Zilari blood, I will. The silence of space was broken by a single voice. Execute the plan. Deep inside a hidden moonbase, General Velk stood in front of a black operations map. His yellow eyes burned with anger. He wore battle armor stripped of all royal symbols. Once he was a commander of the Zilari army. Now he was a traitor. She bonded with a human, Velk growled. She has forgotten her blood, but I will remind her. The officers around him nodded, loyal to him, not the Queen. They believed in Zilari purity. To them, the soulmate bond between the princess and a human was a mistake, a disgrace. Velk raised a hand, and a hologram flickered to life. It showed Ray Carter's face. Kill the human, Velk ordered. And when she mourns, bring the princess back. By force, if needed. Back on Variant 6, the human colony had changed overnight. No more gunfire. No more patrols. Zilari guards and human soldiers now stood side by side. In the center of the base, a new structure was being built, an alliance hall where both sides could meet, talk, and plan. Ray stood beside Nixari as builders shaped the hall's foundation. She had begun to speak, only a few words, but her voice was soft and strange, like music underwater. Why help build? She asked. Ray smiled. Because this will be ours, yours and mine. She looked at the rising walls, thoughtful. Then, her bracelet blinked, a soft warning glow. She frowned. Something wrong? Ray asked. Nixari held her wrist close to her ear, then shook her head slowly. Static. Something blocks ... the net. Ray tapped his cum. Alina, are our sensors acting strange? Dr. Alina's voice replied, Funny you ask. We've been getting interference from orbit, not from the Queen's fleet. Something else. I'm trying to trace it now. Ray's gut tightened. Inside the medical dome, Alina stared at the signals, flooding her console. A strange pattern repeated in the background, a coded rhythm. Almost like a language. She decrypted it line by line until one phrase stood out. The bond must be broken. Her blood ran cold. She grabbed her cum again. Ray, you're in danger. Unknown forces are jamming the network and scanning your location. Ray turned to Nixari. We need to move, now. But before they could step away, an explosion tore through the foundation of the Alliance Hall. Dust flew everywhere. Screams filled the air. Half the structure collapsed. Ray covered Nixari with his body and pulled her behind a fallen pillar. Smoke filled the sky. Figures emerged from the shadows, black-armored Zilari warriors. Not loyal to the Queen. These were rebels, and they were armed. Ray pushed Nixari back. Run to the med dome. Don't stop, she hesitated. What about you? I'll hold them off. Go. Nixari finally turned and ran. Her bracelet blinked fast and read now danger. Mode. Ray took cover behind the wreckage and fired at the attackers. His shots were clean, precise, but they kept coming. Suddenly, a sharp bolt grazed his shoulder, burning through his armor. He fell to one knee. Then, from the smoke, a tall figure approached, General Velk. His armor was darker than night, his eyes glowing with hate. You must be the human, Velk hissed. Ray stood, bleeding but defiant. And you must be the coward, Velk smiled coldly. Do you really think you belong beside her? She chose me, Ray said. No, Velk snapped. The device chose you, but blood must stay pure. Velk raised his weapon. Ray braced for the shot, but it never came. A sharp, blinding beam hit Velk from the side, knocking him off his feet. Nixari stood behind him, holding a strange alien rifle. Her eyes were glowing with rage. You heard him. You die, she said clearly. It was the first full sentence she had spoken. Velk staggered up. You dare point a weapon at your own kind? She is my kind now, Nixari said, stepping beside Ray. She helped him to his feet. Together, they stood, facing Velk. But Velk tapped a device on his belt and vanished in a cloud of light. He had escaped. Later, inside the medical dome, Ray sat, with a bandage on his shoulder. Alina paced nearby. That wasn't just a rebel, she said. That was General Velk. He disappeared after the last war. Nixari nodded. He hates me. He hates you. He will return. Ray clenched his jaw. Then we need to be ready. Nixari placed her hand on his. We will fight together. The bracelet blinked green, again brighter than ever. Their bond had survived its first true test, but the war wasn't over. The colony had gone quiet. After the attack, soldiers patrolled in silence. The remains of the half-built Alliance Hall still smoked. Engineers worked all day clearing rubble. But at night, everyone stayed inside. The rebels could strike again. Inside a private room at the medical dome, Ray lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His shoulder still ached from the burn. Across the room, Nixari sat on a soft mat, her legs crossed, her eyes closed in meditation. Her bracelet glowed faintly green, but flickered sometimes. She's worried, Ray thought. He sat up. Can't sleep? Nixari opened her eyes. No, Ray moved closer. Something on your mind? Nixari nodded. My people. I feel them changing. Some follow my mother. Some follow Velk. The bond with you makes me a target for both. Ray was quiet for a moment. And what about you? Do you regret it? She looked up at him, her expression unreadable. Then slowly she reached for his hand. Their fingers touched. The bracelet glowed steady and bright. No, she said softly. No regret. In another part of the colony, inside the communication center, Alina sat alone reviewing data from the rebel attack. She watched a slow-motion replay of Velk's escape. Something didn't feel right. Why did the guards fail to intercept him? She whispered. She rewound the footage again. This time, she watched the security officer in the background, Captain Orlo. He didn't move. He just stood there, even when the alarm sounded. And when Velk vanished, Orlo turned and smiled. Alina's blood ran cold. She tapped her cum. Ray, I think we have a traitor. Back at the dome, Ray was gearing up. A traitor? Yes, Alina said. Captain Orlo. He's one of ours, or so we thought. But his actions during the attack don't add up. Ray tightened his vest. If he's feeding info to Velk, then we're not safe, Alina finished. Nixari stood. We must act before night ends. Ray nodded. I'll go to the command center. Lock him down quietly. Nixari touched his chest. Be careful. You are not just soldier now. No, he said. I'm something more because of you. Ray moved through the dark corridors of the base, using side halls to avoid attention. He reached the command center quietly. Inside, only a few night shift officers worked at consoles. Orlo wasn't at his station. Ray frowned. Where is he? He stepped into the back control room and froze. Captain Orlo stood in the shadows, holding a small device in his hand. Ray raised his weapon. Put it down. Orlo smiled calmly. You're too late. He clicked the device. Suddenly, all lights in the base went out. Emergency red lights kicked in, but comms dropped. Then came the sound. A loud rumbling. Followed by screams. Outside, the rebels had returned. Back in the med dome, Nixari looked up sharply. Her bracelet blinked red. Intrusion, she whispered. Alina ran to the window. They've shut down power. We're blind. Nixari grabbed a nearby pulse blade and turned to Alina. We must defend ourselves. I will not run again. In the command center, Ray lunged at Orlo and knocked the device from his hand. They struggled, fists slamming into armor. Orlo was strong, but Ray had training. Years of it. He struck hard, knocking Orlo to the ground, then pinned him. You're working for Velk? Ray demanded. Orlo coughed, laughing. He's the future. Your bond is a disease. Ray hit him. Again, this time with anger. I'll take that as a yes. He tied Orlo's hands and dragged him toward the cell block. Meanwhile, rebel forces breached the outer wall. Alien and human soldiers fought together, pushing them back. But they were outnumbered. Inside the med dome, Nixari stood at the door, holding off attackers with expert moves, blade flashing, eyes glowing. She fought like a true warrior princess. One rebel got close. Too close, but Ray appeared behind him, firing a stun shot that knocked him flat. Nixari turned, surprised. You came. I told you, Ray said. We fight together. The battle raged for almost an hour. But slowly, the rebels lost ground. Back up. From the Queen's fleet arrived Zilari warships, dropping elite guards into the fight. Velk soldiers were pushed back. When the dust settled, over 20 were captured. The rest vanished into the shadows. The base stood damaged, but still alive. Later that night, Ray and Nixari sat together outside under the twin moons. You saved me, she whispered. We saved each other. Ray replied. She leaned her head gently against his shoulder, and for the first time, Ray didn't feel like a stranger on this planet. He felt like he belonged. But far above them, on the dark side of the moon, General Velk stood watching, his hands clenched into fists. If they want war, I will give them war. Asterisk, the royal flagship descended from orbit like a silent mountain. Its golden fins cut through the clouds, casting long shadows over the damaged human colony below. No weapons were raised yet. Inside the Alliance Hall, now fully rebuilt after the last attack, leaders gathered around a large round table. Humans, Zilari diplomats, and most importantly, Ray and Nixari. Tension thickened the air. The doors opened. With a hiss, and Queen Alarantha entered. Her expression was cold. She walked past every commander without a word and stopped in front of her daughter. Then she looked at Ray. I warned you, she said. Velk is no ordinary rebel, Ray nodded. We know that now. He has support inside both our sides. The Queen's eyes narrowed. And he grows bolder because of one thing, your bond. Everyone went still. Ray's voice was calm. You think the bond is the problem? I know it is, the Queen replied. Velk believes the bond pollutes our bloodline, and many agree with him. Nixari stood slowly. Then let them be angry. I will not break the bond. The Queen's face tightened. I do not ask you to, but I will give you both a choice. Ray folded his arms. What kind of choice? The Queen raised a hand, and a hologram appeared over the table. It showed 2 stars linked by a glowing thread. One system for humans. One for Zelari, a new home far from Velk's reach. We will send you there with supplies, with protection. But you must leave this world. Ray blinked. Exile? Not exile, the Queen said. A future. A safe one. One where the bond can grow without bloodshed. Nixari stepped forward. And if we say no? The Queen's voice grew heavy. Then war returns. Velk will not stop, and I may not be able to hold my army back forever. Later, in a quiet chamber, Ray and Nixari sat together. Ray stared at the map on the table. The system the Queen offered was far away on the edge of known space. Safe, yes, but also isolated. She's trying to protect us, Ray said quietly. Nixari looked unsure, but we just began building peace here. Leaving now ends everything. Ray sighed. If we stay, more will die. Nixari touched his hand. But if we run, Velk wins. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Nixari's bracelet blinked, a pale blue color neither of them had seen before. What does that mean? Ray asked. She tilted her head, confused. A question signal. The bond is unsure. Even the bond doesn't know what's right, Ray said, almost to himself. Outside, soldiers continued repairs on damaged defense towers. Alina walked across the base, speaking softly into a recorder. Velk's support grows. The Queen's plan may be logical, but it isn't victory, it's surrender. Ray and Nixari have changed this colony. They've shown that aliens and humans can live and fight together. She looked up at the sky. But if they leave, the rebels will twist it into a story of weakness. Just then, her comm beeped. A message from deep space. Encrypted. Zelari code. Alina opened it carefully. Her eyes widened. Inside the chamber, Ray's communicator buzzed. Alina's voice came through, fast and urgent. Don't go anywhere. I intercepted a private message meant for Velk. It says, remove the bond before they vanish. The Queen won't live long after that. Ray sat up straight. What? Nixari's bracelet flashed red. She's in danger, Nixari said. Ray nodded. This isn't just about us anymore. Velk plans to kill her. He wants the throne. Nixari stood quickly. We must warn her. Inside the Queen's quarters, guards scanned every visitor. The Queen stood alone near a window, watching the stars. She didn't hear Ray and Nixari enter until they were right behind her. Mother, Nixari said, Velk plans to assassinate you. The Queen turned slowly. Her expression didn't change. I expected this, she said. You knew? Ray asked. She nodded. A queen must always assume betrayal. But I had to give you a real choice. I hoped you would choose safety. Ray stepped forward. We're not leaving. The Queen raised an eyebrow. Even if it means war? Ray's voice was strong. Even if it means death. Because what you call exile is surrender. And peace built on fear never lasts. Nixari stood beside him. We'll fight Velk, with your blessing or without it. The Queen stared at them. Both. Then slowly. She smiled. You remind me of myself when I was young, she said softly. Very well. You'll have your war. That night, all across the colony, both humans and Zalari gathered for an emergency meeting. The Queen's voice rang out over speakers. Velk believes fear gives him power. Let's prove him wrong. The bond between Ray and Nixari is not our weakness, it is our strength. And I will defend it with my throne. The troops roared. Ray stood beside Nixari, her hand in his. The war they wanted to avoid was now coming, but this time they wouldn't run. This time, they would lead. A dark wave moved through space. Velk's fleet had arrived. 50 rebel warships exited warp just outside the orbit of Varian 6. Their engines burned hot with stolen energy. Each ship was fitted with illegal weapons banned by both Zalari and human law. Inside the lead cruiser, General Velk stood before a sea of followers. The Queen has failed us, Velk growled. Her daughter bonded with a human and now she dares call that strength. No, that bond is our weakness. And today, we burn it out. Cheers erupted from his soldiers. Velk turned toward a red hologram of the colony. We attack at sunrise. No mercy. No survivors. Back on the surface of Varian 6, the colony buzzed with activity. Troops trained nonstop. Defense shields hummed around the perimeter. Engineers installed heavy plasma cannons, air turrets, and shield emitters on the highest towers. Humans and Zalari worked side by side. Inside the Alliance Hall, Ray stood before a large battle map, sweat running down his neck. He hadn't slept. Neither had Nixari. We're outnumbered almost 5-1, Alina said, her voice tense. But we know this ground, Ray replied, and we're fighting for something more than pride. Nixari placed her hand over the glowing star map. We fight for future. Ray nodded. Exactly. The Queen stood nearby, wearing golden battle armor. This colony is no longer a test, she said to the room. It is our heart. If we lose this place, we lose everything. One human soldier raised a hand. Permission to speak, Your Majesty? She looked at him and nodded. Most of us never trusted aliens before this war. But when Velk's troops came, it was your people who stood beside us. I just want to say, we're ready. Nixari's bracelet pulsed with light bright steady green. Ray looked around at the group. No retreat, he said. No surrender. As night fell, the entire colony went into battle lockdown. Ray and Nixari stood atop the main wall, side by side. The sky above was full of stars, and blinking red lights. Velk's fleet drawing closer. Are you afraid? Nixari asked softly. Ray shook his head. No, not while I'm next to you. She smiled gently. I feel the same. They stood in silence a while longer, watching the stars. Then came the alarm. Warning. Enemy ships entering upper atmosphere. Everyone scrambled into position. Ray grabbed his rifle. Nixari drew her pulse blade. The last defense had begun. Minutes later, the first wave hit. Velk's fighters screamed across the sky, firing plasma blasts at outer towers. Ground-based turrets returned fire, lighting up the darkness with blue and red flashes. Soldiers shouted commands, moving quickly between bunkers. Ray's squad held the eastern gate. Explosions lit up the sand as Velk's troops tried to push through, but the shield held. Nixari fought like lightning, her blade cutting through rebel units with speed and grace. She moved with purpose, every strike a message. This is my home now. Inside the control center, Alina monitored every signal. They're trying to overload the shield core. If it breaks, we're done. Ray grabbed his cum. Give me a path. I'll take a team and stop them. Nixari touched his shoulder. I go too. He nodded. We do this together. Ray, Nixari, and a small strike team rushed toward the power core, a large silver dome near the edge of the base. But as they neared it, they spotted enemy soldiers already inside the control zone. Ray pointed. Split left and right, Nixari, with me. They charged. The battle was fierce hand-to-hand, fast and brutal. Ray tackled one rebel to the ground, disarmed him, and kicked him unconscious. Nixari spun through two attackers, deflecting blasts with her blade. They reached the core control panel just in time. Rebel had planted a charge. Ray dove forward and yanked the device free. Nixari slammed her blade into the last attacker, ending the fight. The core was safe, but as they caught their breath, Ray's comm buzzed again. Alina here. Velk's command cruiser just dropped out of orbit. He's coming down personally. Inside the Queen's war tent, officers stood stunned. The coward comes himself? One Zalari general asked. No, the Queen said. He comes to break the bond with his own hands. Ray and Nixari returned to the command post quickly. Ray's voice was calm but strong. Let him come? Nixari stood tall beside him. We are ready. The Queen stepped forward, placing a golden badge into Ray's hand. If he reaches the core chamber again, use this. It sends a deep signal only our fleet will understand. They will lock weapons on his ship, no matter where it runs. Ray looked at the badge, then at the Queen. You still trust us? The Queen smiled. You are not a soldier anymore. You are my daughter's bondmate. That makes you family. As the second wave of attack began, the base lights turned red. More ships dropped from orbit. The air shook. Velk had arrived. Asterisk. The ground shook as General Velk's warship landed. It was massive, black and sharp-edged, like a dagger stabbed into the earth. Its engines blew away sand and steel as it touched down just outside the main colony wall. Silence fell. Then the doors opened. Velk stepped out alone. He wore dark armor, scarred and glowing with red veins of stolen energy. His yellow eyes locked straight onto the command post. He didn't bring an army this time. He came for one thing. Ray. Inside the base. Ray watched him through the glass window. He wants me, Ray said quietly. Nixari stood beside him, calm and still. He will not leave unless one of you is dead. Ray turned to the Queen. Let me end this. The Queen hesitated. He's stronger than you. But not stronger than us, Ray said. Nixari nodded. We fight together. The Queen stepped aside. Then go. You have my blessing. Win. Or die well. Ray and Nixari walked side by side toward the main gate. The sky above burned with fire trails from falling debris. The colony walls were battered but still standing. Smoke curled up in the distance. The battle had paused. Everyone was watching. Velk stood in the open field outside the walls, waiting. As Ray and Nixari stepped out, the Zalari princess raised her voice loud and clear. This ends now. Velk smiled coldly. Yes, it does. The duel began. Velk moved first, rushing forward like a shadow. His blade sliced the air with brutal speed. Ray barely blocked the first strike. His armor sparked. Nixari swept in from the side, aiming for Velk's legs, but he flipped over them both and landed behind. You fight together? He hissed. How romantic. How pathetic. He fired a blast from his gauntlet. Nixari dodged left. Ray rolled right. They regrouped fast, reading each other's moves like two parts of one soul. Ray struck high. Nixari struck low. Velk blocked both, but his breath had changed. He was angry. Off-balance. Ray ducked a punch and slammed his fist into Velk's side. His armor cracked. Nixari leapt behind him, slicing a deep line across his shoulder. Sparks flew. Velk roared. You dare touch me? He raised both hands, sending a wave of red energy outward. Ray flew backward and hit the ground hard. His weapon skidded out of reach. VLK turned toward Nixari. I offered to save our people. But you chose a weakling. Nixari didn't flinch. I chose my soulmate. She charged. The two clashed, sparks flying with every hit. Blade against blade, scream against scream. It was wild, violent, but she held her ground. But Velk was stronger. His blade finally struck her sidelight. Armor cracked. She dropped. To one knee. No. Ray shouted, crawling toward her. Velk raised his blade to finish it. Ray threw his body over hers. Just in time. The blade struck Ray's back armor. The blow didn't kill him, but it burned deep. He cried out, pain shooting through his spine. Velk stood over them. It's over. But Ray, trembling, pulled the Queen's golden badge from his belt. He pressed it. A silent signal fired into the sky. Far above the planet, a royal warship received the pulse. A targeting lock was activated. Confirmed target, General Velk's cruiser. Target confirmed. Fire. Back on the ground, Velk turned as a soft sound echoed in the distance. He looked up. A golden beam pierced the clouds. In a single flash, his ship exploded in a thunderous burst of light and fire. Velk froze. Then turned back to Ray. What have you done? You've lost, Ray whispered. Nixari, bleeding but alive, stood up beside him. You have no escape, she said. Velk raised his blade for one final strike, but Nixari moved faster. She drove her weapon into his chest. His eyes widened. The red glow in his armor faded. Then, silence. Velk fell. Cheers erupted across the colony. The war was over. Later, in the recovery dome, Ray lay on a bed, his wounds being treated. Nixari sat beside him, her hand wrapped around his. Will you be all right? She asked softly. I'll live, he smiled. She rested her head on his shoulder. Outside, the Queen stood watching the rebuilding begin again. This time, for real. The bond had survived betrayal, war, and death. And now, it would bring peace, but there was one more moment still to come. Asterisk, the skies above Varian 6 were clear for the first time in months. No warships. No sirens. No smoke. Just blue clouds and twin suns shining over a rebuilt world. The colony was alive again. But today wasn't about weapons or walls. Today was about a promise. Inside the Alliance, hall now complete and glowing with golden lights, hundreds of humans and Zellari gathered. Flags of both species hung side by side. Flowers and crystals lined the aisle, glowing gently with energy. At the front stood Queen Alarintha, dressed in flowing white robes marked with golden runes. For the first time, she wore no armor. Because today was not for war. Ray Carter stood in polished dark formal wear, a light silver sash across his shoulder. His scarred hands were cleaned and steady. His eyes locked on the entrance. Music soft and strange filled the air. Then the doors opened. Nixari entered. The crowd gasped quietly. She wore a radiant silver dress that floated as she walked. Her long white hair was tied with glowing threads of crystal. And on her wrist, the soulmate band glowed brighter than ever before, pure green light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Ray's breath caught. She walked slowly, step by step, toward him. Every soldier, every diplomat, every scientist, human, and Zellari watched in silence. When she reached the front, the Queen raised her hands. Today, Queen Alarintha said, we witnessed not just a ceremony but a living bond. A bond that defied war, betrayal, and bloodlines. She looked at Ray. Ray Carter, you were chosen not by us, but by fate. Do you accept this bond freely? Ray nodded. Yes, I do. She turned to Nixari. Princess Nixari, you stood with this human when your own people doubted you. Do you accept this bond freely and without fear? Nixari's eyes glistened with emotion. Yes, with all my heart. The queen placed both their hands together. The soulmate band began to glow brighter, then released a soft ring of light, rising into the air like a floating ribbon. The crowd gasped as the energy danced between them, circling their arms, their hands, their joined fingers. The queen spoke one final word, united. And the bond sealed. After the ceremony, laughter filled the air. Music returned. Zellori dancers and human musicians performed together. Food was shared. Old enemies shook hands. Peace had become real. Ray and Nixari stood on a balcony overlooking the gathering. Do you feel it? She asked. Ray looked at her. Feel what? The bond. It's different now, stronger. Ray smiled. Maybe because we are two. She leaned into him, resting her head on his chest. And what now? She asked. Ray looked out at the stars. Now we build, he said. Not walls, but something new. She nodded. Together. Later that night, Ray sat with Alina and a few others around a small fire. You saved us all, Alina said. No, Ray replied. We saved each other. Alina raised a glass. To the bond, everyone echoed. To the bond. Far away, deep in another system, a small Zellari child watched a news recording of the ceremony, her glowing eyes wide with wonder. Can I have a human soulmate one day? She asked. Her mother smiled gently. Maybe. Anything is possible now. Back on Variant 6, Ray and Nixari stood on the same hill where they had once faced death together. Now, they faced a sunrise. Two souls. One bond. One future. Together. Asterisk.